Um, I would like now to introduce Soumya Pal, who is a PhD candidate from the Center for Public Policy at Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore. And his research interests are in the domain of climate change, regulations, and environmental justice. And he will be talking today about weather shocks, agricultural productivity, and infant health, a tale of environmental justice. So Soumya, the screen is yours. Please go ahead.
Is my screen visible? And
yes.
Am I audible?
Okay. It's not full screen. If you could make it.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you. I'm sorry, Soumya. Can I mention Professor Almas Heshmati has been your JLO advisor, and I would like to say thank you. My apologies for today's mishaps.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I am Soumya Pal, and thank you, Professor Olena, for the introduction. I'm really touched. And this is a paper which I have been thinking about a lot. And because I got enrolled in this GLO program, this paper, I could make something out of this idea. And I'm really thankful to Professor Almas Heshmati, who has helped me a lot in the process to understand how I can actually make sense of my idea. So yeah, I mean, I'm really thankful to the program and my GLO advisor. So the idea behind this project was that we are witnessing the impact of climate change every day as we are talking. And this particular section of climate change has been discussed quite widely in the economics literature, but there are still a lot of confusion regarding how to model, how to understand the mechanism, how climate change actually works. So, and especially in the context of developing countries, it becomes very important because a large part of the population depends on agriculture for their livelihood, and agriculture is the most vulnerable economic sector as far as the climate change is concerned, based on IPCC reports. So now when we talk about climate change and agriculture, we generally see a very aggregate image. Like we see that, okay, the future projection study or the impact assessment study generally take agriculture as one sector and they study it, but within the sector there are a lot of farmers, and it has been seen in, at least in India, that there is a lot of inequality amongst the farmers, and some farmers are really well off and some farmers are not, and it can be due to the land size they have, it can be due to the resources, etc. So when we talk about the mitigation strategies against the climate change, the mitigation strategies are not equally accessible to all the population. The poorer farmers cannot purchase high-tech agriculture inputs which can protect their input output, and at the same time, many farmers do not have access to simple financial tools such as in crop insurance or any sort of a loan from banking, finance. They don't have access to it. So when we look at this agriculture sector, there are N players, and each player has the different ability, or you can say the mitigation capabilities are differing. So there's a heterogeneity across it. So that was the key motivation to see that, okay, how this climate change is acting across the population of farmers who are quite heterogeneous in their nature. Now, when we are talking about the impact, the first impact which came to my mind was that how the health outcomes are actually working out in this amongst the agricultural sector households. And there's a very interesting hypothesis called fetal origin hypothesis, which have been discussed quite a lot in the demography as well as in economics, where we see that the household conditions, especially the income, saving, etc., determine the birth outcomes, like how much weight will that baby have, how much size, and also it determines its survival, and also Life course studies have also shown that the initial conditions have impact in their adulthood as well. So this fetal origin hypothesis become very interesting. So from when we combine these two ideas, what I'm trying to say here is that a farmer loses its income because the crop failed because of the climate change. It negatively impacts its ability to invest money on their child, on the child growth, and during the pregnancy period. So the maternal and child healthcare gets compromised, and this may have the impact on the birth outcomes as well as the child survival. So this was the whole idea. Now, when working with this idea, there was an issue that there is a direct impact as well on the because of the climate change. The literature has shown that the excessive rainfall or excessive heat waves can have direct impact. So there was a challenge to separate out the direct impact and just focus on this indirect impact, which happens through the income loss. Now, so based on the motivation, these are the following questions which I'm trying to answer. First is, what is the extent of efficiency and productivity loss for major food crops in India due to weather shocks? Can access to mitigation technology reduces the impact? What is the extent of indirect impact on birth outcomes and infant mortality? Is there differential impact across households with heterogeneous adaptation capability? Now, the key findings here are that the extent of efficiency lost explained by the extreme temperature and rainfall for three major food crops in India, that is rice, wheat, and maize, are 20%, 18.3%, and 24%. And similarly, we see quite a significant loss in the productivity of the same crops by 10% and 12.7%. So we did the analysis separate for each month during the cropping season, because in each time period in the cropping season has a different role for the outcome of the crop. So like if we take the example of rice, now excessive temperature during the month of transplantation or excessive rainfall can reduce the productivity by 10%. It means that during the transplantation, the farmers need a lot of water. When the rice seedlings actually starts to grow, and excessive temperature can harm the crop growth. At the same time, if there is excessive rainfall, which we are calling as flood, then it can just wash away the soil and it can impact the agriculture output. So there are different roles played by different time period in the cropping season. So we have done the analysis separately, and this is what we have found. Now, this is very important as far as the mitigation strategy is concerned, that access to irrigated land and high-yielding variety seeds actually reduces the productivity loss for both the food crops. Now, with respect to child health, what we see is that now, if before the conception of the child, if there is an income shock to the farmer, that determines the indirect impact on the child health, because during the pregnancy period, if there is a weather shock, then the effect have both the direct as well as indirect impact. So it's very difficult to separate it out. So what we have done is we have introduced the weather shock at the pre-conception stage, when the child, just before the child was conceived. And what we see is that the extreme low and high temperature during in the pre-conception stage of the child actually increases the likelihood of mortality by 1%, 1.19%, and 1.04%. Similarly, we see the negative impact of weather shock in the birth size as well as the birth weight. And finally, what we observed here is that to see the heterogeneity across households, we see that the households which have access to irrigated land, some financial tools like bank account, health insurance, or they are enrolled in a free food program, or do they have television, where television plays a huge role in agriculture in India, because a lot of extensive services regarding how to plant the crop, when to plant the crop, and all this technical knowledge are provided through television by the government of India. So television plays a key role in terms of providing information. And what we see that the access to these tools reduces the impact on the child mortality. Now, when we go to the literature review, we see that there has been some studies which have in the environmental economics literature which have seen that that the weather shocks actually reduces the food crop production, and this was quite discussed in the Stern review as well. And now there has been some sort of discussion about how to measure the causal estimation, because there has been a back and forth discussion about how should be the econometric specification. Now, in 1994, Will Nordhaus came up with this paper and he estimated the impact, which was challenged long after in 2009 by Oliver Deskins and Michael Greenstone's paper, where they say that the specification, econometric specification provided by Nordhaus is not right. And it doesn't take into account the state level, or in terms of US, the county level variations. And that's where the model lacks. And they adjusted for these fixed effects in their model and provided a new framework. Now, what we have done in this, that we have combined the econometric approach provided by Oliver Deskins and Will Nordhaus to come up with a new econometric specification, which takes care of both the fixed effect as well as the random effects through a panel data specification. And to measure the efficiency loss, we utilize the stochastic frontier model conceptualized by Green in 1998. Now, differential capabilities and extent to shock. Economics literature explored a set of climate mitigation strategies, which generally comes from the technology adoption, trade, or crop switching. Now, when we talk about these three broader mitigation strategies, we can see that not all individuals or not all farmers will be able to afford crop switching or adopt technology adoption. And if we talk about at the country level, not all countries are equipped to have a multilateral trade with other countries. Now, this heterogeneity part has been mostly ignored in the literature, which we are trying to answer from the framework of environmental justice. Now, environmental justice has been not just limited to the literature, but it has been quite discussed in the grassroots level movements across the world, where we see that the most vulnerable part of the society are more exposed to the environment-related hazards. Now, these hazards have been limited mostly to air pollution, water pollution, or soil-related pollution, but it has not been studied mostly in context of the climate change or what we call the weather shocks. So now, to fill up this gap, we have actually introduced the weather shock into that environmental justice framework and try to assess that which households are more vulnerable than the other. Now, before going into the empirical stuff, I designed a micro model where utilizing the agriculture household model, the model we proposed long back. And for that, and before going into that, I'll try to define how I have defined the metrics for weather shock. Now there has been a lot of discussion that how we mathematically measure the weather. Now, there has been some sort of people have come to this definition that the weather we observe today or any day at any point of time is actually realization of a larger multivariate probability distribution, where there are multiple inputs such as temperature, rainfall, humidity, and there can be other n factors which determines how the weather will be today. Now, when we try to define the weather shock, the framework provided by Michael Greenstone paper is that they try to measure how far from a given region, how far the weather observation, let's take the temperature today, is how far from the mean temperature, like what is the traditionally being the temperature at that place. So now they have not defined how to measure that in a theoretical sense. Now, this was the contribution we made, that we said that the distance, the difference between the mean and the extreme temperature, what we are seeing in any point in time, is basically a statistical distance. Now, the statistical distance is very different from what we know as a Euclidean distance, which we generally use. Now, statistical distance takes into account the covariance between the variables, which is there in the multivariate distribution, And the very popular statistical distance measurement is given by Mahalanobis in his paper in 1936 called as Mahalanobis distance, which is used quite well in the applied literature in propensity score matching. So this is the definition, this is how mathematical specification of the statistical distance, where mu is basically the mean, x is the multivariate random variable, and omega is basically the variance covariance matrix. Now I'll go into the model. Now initially I started with the Cobb-Douglas utility model, where as you can see that the C is basically the consumption of what the farmer produce, M is the market good, what they purchase from market, H is basically the health of the newborn, and L is the leisure. And the budget constraint is defined very usually, and it basically depends on the wage they earn from the non-agriculture workforce. Tau is basically the lump sum transfer being given to the household from government, and the profit they make from their agriculture activity. And PY is basically the price of their outcome. And Y is the outcome, agriculture production. Now, on solving, this is the specification for the production function. This is also, I have assumed, the Cobb-Douglas production function.
Soumya, I'm very sorry. We have like 5 minutes left. Could you?
Yeah, okay. So the productivities are basically adjusted for the climate shocks, and the lambdas are basically the statistical distance. That it means that as far as we go from the mean temperature or the mean rainfall, the productivity of any input reduces. And on solving, we get this typical cost function, and this was the profit equation, and based on that, we made a first proposition that deviation from mean weather conditions reduces the overall productivity. The effects vary according to the accumulated capital of farmers and markups charged by the input suppliers. Cost of production increases following the power law with respect to extreme weather conditions and sensitivity of the inputs. And when we put that profit equation into the utility maximization problem, what we see is we find this health function, which states that higher values, which says that it depends on the agriculture production and how much income they earn from the agriculture, and any loss in the agriculture due to weather shocks can have an impact on the health outcomes of the child. So this was the proposition 2, that the health outcome of a newborn is indirectly related to the weather shock through production loss in season preceding the conception of the child. We did the same exercise with CES utility function to make it more flexible, and this was a more complex health state function we have constructed. So what data source we are using? We are using a very popular ICRISAT data source, which collects data on crop production across the districts between 1966 to 2011. And the birth data come from the DHS India, and the weather data is extracted from the NASA project, which is available at the grid level. So this was the specification for measurement of the efficiency, and this was the specification for measurement of the impact on the productivity, and finally this was the econometric specification to measure the impact on the health outcome of a child due to income loss in the pre-conception stage due to extreme weather conditions. So these are the following threats to identification. As I have discussed earlier, that there is a possibility of direct impact. That's why we have not introduced the weather shock within the pregnancy period. We have introduced in the pre-conception period. And there are additional issues that in India, generally women migrate to other households for giving the child birth, but the information we have is for the current location. But there is an assumption here that the father of the child sends money to the household to make sure that the child is healthy, and the money is coming from the agriculture production. So this was the main results, where we see that there is a significant loss in the efficiency attributed to climate change, and we see that in extremely low temperature and high temperature, we see that there's an increment in the likelihood of child mortality. This is the robustness check. What we did, we took the other households which are not dependent on the agriculture in the rural areas of India, and we don't see that much of impact. Similarly, for the birth weight, we see the risk of low birth weight is increasing. The risk for low birth size is increasing. And when we interacted to see how much the heterogeneity is there. So when we interacted the weather shock with the bank account, we see that the impact on child mortality actually reduces. With irrigation also it reduces. But with health insurance, we don't see any significant change. But with television, definitely we see a significant change, reduction in the child mortality. So to conclude that in developing countries, this form of studies are very important to understand the heterogeneity across within the any economic sectors. And of course, the current study studies only the static equilibrium, but static partial equilibrium, but we can extend this model to have a time variation with dynamic model and make it a more broader study with including the dynamic general equilibrium model. So future work, now I want to extend this study and include multiple rounds of DHS to form a panel with, and then design a BSG model with heterogeneous agents and introduce some more robustness checks with alternative definitions for extreme weather conditions. Thank you. And I'm sorry for exceeding the time.
Thank you very much, Soumya.